Hey guys, thanks for joining me. I had a few minutes before I go to pick up my kids, so I figured I would do this editing video. This one is pretty simple, and I am using a few overlays that are for sale on my website, but aside from that, it's pretty simple, just with layers and curves, a little bit of dodge and burn, some light enhancements, and that's about it. This was taken around sunset, and it was kind of a gloomy day, so I don't have a whole lot of that golden light. And also it was taken with my old Nikon 180 millimeter at 2.8, and that was with a adapter, so I guess that makes it a little bit longer focal length, so I'm not entirely sure what the exact focal length was, but the lens cost me about $50 to $75. I'm not entirely sure the exact price, but super cheap. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment to get this kind of creamy background. You don't need a lot of expensive wardrobe accessories for a styled shoot as well. I've had this dress for a few years, and it was, I think, $12 on Amazon, and the hat was about $10. So just mix and match things. They don't exactly go together 100%, but my daughter liked it. I liked the photo, so here we are. Okay, so first things first, what I want to do is warm this up a little. So I'm going to do a curves adjustment layer. So I'll come down here and go to my adjustment layers, curves, and I want to bump up the exposure on her face. Now this will vary from photo to photo, but for this image I just need a teeny bit. I'm going to come to my layer mask, click on it, and then select invert. I want to come over here to my brush, 100% opacity and flow. I have a soft round brush selected, and I want to make this the size of the area that I want to lighten. Now I'm just going to paint that on. We have some shadows in here. Okay. I'm going to select my background layer and do another curves adjustment. This time, instead of RGB, I'm going to select the drop down to red, bump that up a tiny bit as well, select my drop down to blue, and bring that down a tiny bit until I have not too yellow and not too cool. There's a happy medium in there. So that just gives us an overall sense of warmth. It makes us feel as though the sun was this golden, yellow, orangish color. And I'm going to leave that on my whole image. Sometimes I adjust the opacity. Sometimes I take it off the eyes or the skin or the clothes, but I'm just going to leave that on everything. You do not need to flatten. Actually, a lot of photographers recommend that you do not. Sorry, I needed some water. Yes, because then you can't go back over here to your to get rid of things. It's set that way. But I know that this is how I'm going to leave it because I've edited this photo 3 times now, so I know kind of what I want it to look like. Okay, so I have everything here. Now usually before I even do any of that, I do my cropping, my cloning, my color adjustments. So I want to come over here to my spot healing tool, or actually to my patch tool. And she does have chocolate or something on her face. So I just kind of select around there and drag it up to get rid of that spot. I'm going to come over to my clone stamp tool, and I want this to be under 30%. For me personally, I don't want it to be too harsh because then it takes away all of the creases under the eye, and when you do that, the eyes don't look natural. They definitely look like you have done editing work to them. So I am going to alt click on a place at the top of her cheek, and I'm just going to do that a couple of times until I've taken away the dark circles. Alt click, and I'm going to do that on both sides. Oops. Be careful not to get too close to the cheek or else you'll end up with a line. And if you can see, it has just gotten rid of those dark circles under her eyes. She naturally has those, and we are all just getting over the flu, so she just naturally has those dark circles. But I want her to look rested and not overly tired or sick, so we just do a little bit of editing to those. Now I want to come over here and do some dodging. It's this little magnifying glass. I want to dodge in her eyes, especially this one, since it is a little bit more out of the light. Okay, so that you can just tell has brightened up her eyes a little. Okay, so now I'm going to raise my exposure to a little under 20%. I'm going to dodge the tip of her nose, her, what is that, Cupid's bow, and right above her eyelids, or actually on her eyelids, and inside of her big brown eyes. Gives her a little more light and makes it look not as flat. Okay, and now I'm going to burn right in here where her lips meet. And a little contouring on her cheek area. It gives her a little pop. When you darken this area, it gives the illusion that this is a little bit darker, a little bit more sculpted, and then this is in the light, so it makes it a little bit, I guess, like, I don't know, highlight. I know she's little, and I wouldn't try to add additional makeup or anything to her. It's just, for the sake of this image, it's a little more fine art, so I want a lot of contrast. Okay, so now here is the part where I'm going to add some overlays. This is my bokeh overlay. And if you do not have these, I just picked it up and drug it over here, and now I'm going to transform it, scale it to the size of my photo, just like that, and select the check mark. Okay, so if you do not have these, you can add color and dimension with gradients. That will help, but as you can tell, this particular overlay has a lot of different colors, so that would be quite a few gradient layers. So with these, I'm just hoping to save everyone some time with their workflow. So you can come over here and select the different these different blend modes. Sorry, I forgot the term. And I wouldn't be so concerned of what it looks like on your subject. We want to make sure that this is the way we want it to be. So this is normal, and of course we will lower our opacity. Okay, so this is what normal would look like, and this is soft light. Now, I particularly like soft light in this instance, and I want it to be bumped up. So now I'm going to come down here, select my layer mask, and then I'm not going to invert it actually. I'm going to come over here and select my brush, select my black brush. Soft round, still 100% flow, but I want to bring it down to about 50% opacity and just paint this off of her. Now, I don't want it completely painted off because then that is when it starts to look a little crazy. I do want it more so off of her dress, just so we have a little bit of separation in our tones. We don't want everything to be this golden yellowish color. I want a little bit of the ivory dress still there. I want more of this golden tone on the outside of her, because this is looking to be where the light is coming down. So I want it more to be on this side, so we can kind of follow the same with the light in the photo as the overlays. Okay, so there's where we are, and there is some still on her skin, but not a whole lot. I'm going to flatten this as well. And now I want to add my light hue. Now this particular light hue could be achieved with maybe 3 or 4 gradient layers. And it's not that you can't do it without the overlay. It's just a time-saving benefit. So now I'm going to select Free Transform after I dropped in, or drag it over and dropped it. And I want to kind of angle it towards our corner a little and just place it here. And select the check mark. Yes, so anything you can do in Photoshop there, you can do it a few different ways. We'll select Screen as our blend mode. I want to select this layer mask, our brush at 100%, and I want to get rid of this line. You can see where the layer ended, so we don't want that. I want to bring down my opacity just a tad, not too much, and I want to bring down my opacity of my brush to about 30-40%. And I want to paint this off of her face and a little off of the hat as well. I don't want to paint off too much, but I don't want it to be too obvious that this is something that has been added. So you can tell there is light on her hat, her hands, her hair, her shoulder, but not too much. Okay. And I want to flatten that. Now I want to come over here to my curves adjustment layer again, and I might want to give this a little bit of matte, so I'm just going to bring this up a little bit and drag this down. See, you get different effects depending on what you're doing, and I definitely want to bring down my opacity. I like a good matte photo, but not too much. Okay, now I'm going to come up here to filter, camera raw filter, and this is where Lightroom, my lack of using Lightroom comes in. I do not use Lightroom ever. I have it because it comes with your Creative Cloud package, but I don't use it. I find it unnecessary. I prefer to use Adobe Camera Raw, and it's right here in Photoshop. And it has, for me, everything that I need that I would find in Lightroom. So if you choose to use that, then this is similar. And here, I want to say I almost always, I take that back, I always use Camera Raw either at the beginning of my editing or somewhere in the middle, and I always use it at the end as well. I always do, and it's just for me, it could be my camera, it could be my lens, different brands of camera, different lenses, saturate and add contrast differently. But I noticed that my camera does not add a whole lot of contrast, and I like that in my photos, so I always bump up my contrast at the end, my clarity, and my vibrance just a little bit. So I'll click OK on this so you can see our difference. Here's our before Camera Raw, and here's our after. Just makes everything a little bit more bold, I think. So I'm going to do another Camera Raw adjustment, but I'm going to duplicate my background layer this time, because sometimes I don't like how it comes out after I've clicked OK. So here's my Camera Raw filter, and I'm going to add a radial filter. Just click and drag until it fills the space you want it to, and I want it primarily on her face. Now these settings save from each photo, so they'll be the same here. And I do want a little bit of contrast, a little bit of exposure, some clarity, but for the most part I want a little bit of sharpening in this. And I'm going to click OK. So sometimes it gets to be a little too much, so that's why I like to do before and after, and I like this the way that it is. So I will flatten that down. And for me, let's see, I want to do a little bit of burning to her eyelashes. She has beautiful eyelashes and they're super long. It's just the way it works. Kids always have the best eyelashes, and it's usually boys. Little boys, like toddler boys, have the best eyelashes, it seems like. So just darken that up a little bit. It doesn't do a whole lot. It's not like adding makeup to her. It's just making her, it's not like adding fake eyelashes either. It's just making her existing eyelashes look bolder. They stand out a little more. Okay, so now I want to duplicate my background layer again. I'm going to go to Filter, Sharpen, Sharpen. Okay, so see what that did? It didn't do a whole lot, but I want to add a layer mask, and I want to invert that. I want to change my color over here to white, select my brush, 100%. Okay, and I just want to sharpen up her eyes. I sharpen eyes in all of my photos that have visible eyes. Sometimes eyes are closed, or you have the back of the head or the side of the head, and I don't sharpen then, obviously. It just helps a little. But yes, I don't sharpen always. Just in portraits like this, I do, because I like to see the eyes. I want to see them, and I want them to be bold. So I'm going to come over here and dodge, and I want to whiten her whites of her eyes just a tad to make them stand out. So that's what we've done there. And for me, I believe I'm finished with this image. You can also add a texture overlay to this, which would be pretty neat. I'm taking a snapshot. I might add a texture overlay just for fun. So here's our straight out of camera image, and here's our warmed up edit, I guess. So there's quite a bit of difference in color and contrast. Okay, so let's see if we can add a texture just for fun. Please forgive my mess of photos here. I need to organize again. I get into the habit where I do organize my photos and put them all in the nice neat folders, and then when I'm busy editing something, I kind of just go really fast and just forget about it. So these are also for sale, and I have all of these textures. Let me see which one we want to use. I actually think I am liking this dark linen. So we will open it. Yes, I actually think I like this dark linen. We'll select our move tool, drag it up, and onto the image. Now I want to go to Edit, Free Transform, Scale, and just make it larger. Here we go. Select the check mark. I want to give it a layer mask. I also want to play with my blend modes, just to see what we like here. The screen is pretty neat. Lighten is cool. Overlay, soft light. Let's see. So I'm torn between multiply and screen. Screen makes it lighter and brighter, but takes away a lot of the texture. Multiply makes it a little bit more textured and darker. I think we'll go with screen. And then I'll select my adjustment layer, mask, and I'm changing my brush to black, 100% opacity. Actually, we'll do about 80% opacity. And I want to paint this off of her. Around our edges. And I'm not so concerned about the edges because I do want it left on her some. Okay, and we are going to lower our opacity. And paint this up a little more. Maybe lower it down a little bit more. It just adds a little bit of texture. You can still see the texture in the image. Or before is creamier, and this leaves a little bit of texture. When you zoom out, it's not as noticeable that you have a texture overlay on there. And I think it's pretty neat. I like textures when they fit. Sometimes they don't fit. People add them anyways, and then that's when you end up with a funny looking image. Okay, so now that this is the third time I've edited this image, it looks different. It always looks different. I always do something just the slightest bit different. Like this time I added a texture overlay. But they always come out where you can tell that it is my work. It is my edit and my image. And that's what you are going for. You want people to know that that is how you edit. That is your work. So, you know, find a style that works for you and go with it. If you don't like it, change it up. That's fine. I've changed my editing style I don't know how many times. And I'm actually changing again. I'm going more for still with the creamy backgrounds, but I want more muted tones and less dressy, more vintage, I guess. So I'm excited to see how those visions kind of pan out for me. But as you grow as a photographer, and as your editing changes and grows, things just, they fit differently. So now at this point in my photography career, I am starting to change things up a little. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and you continue to enjoy my videos and tutorials and other products. And if you have any questions or would like to learn something specific, please just let me know. I'm always available for questions and conversations. So I guess I will see you guys, or talk to you guys next time. Okay, thanks. Bye.